Statement B is the odd statement here. We see that the key aspect, the central idea of this particular paragraph, is given by statement C. It says skeptical bankers who had gone long on the rupee rushed to reverse their positions, sending the rupee on a record upward spiral. The upward spiral, the record upward spiral of the rupee is the key aspect. Next, we see statement D, which corroborates this. It says, true to ex-RBI Governor Bimal Jalan's predictions, the first 3 days of October saw a smooth redemption of the SBI Resurgent India bonds, worth $5.18 billion, with nary a blip on the rupee. Now, here we see that this is actually talking about the SBI Resurgent India bonds with not a blip, nary a blip, not even a blip on the rupee, but it also talks about, so yes, it's somewhat different. The primary subject is different, but it also talks about not a spot, not a blip on the rupee. So the rupee has been rising consistently, one could infer from this. We then come to statement E, which says by weekend it had touched 45.50 against the dollar, and on October 8th, a peak of 45.33. So here we talk about against the dollar. Now the dollar is introduced here, but that's used as a comparison, a sort of an exchange comparison with the rupee. And it is being stated that it had touched in this phrase. We realize that it is talking about a high in the rupee as compared to the dollar. And here we are talking about a peak of. So in both cases, we are talking about rupee reaching a high exchange figure against the dollar. All of this, the positive connotation is rounded off in A, which says it was an unprecedented Dussehra gift. The Dussehra gift, again, it suggests to us that this connects with the aspect of the rupee. Finally, we come to statement B, which says practically every week, close to $800 million drift into the Fort chest, touching $90 billion now. So here, first off, we are talking about dollars. We're not talking about the rupee. There's absolutely no aspect of the rupee being here in this statement. So there's no connection with the rupee altogether, which defeats the central idea of the rest of the statements. Second, we are talking about number of dollars or amounts of dollars coming into the Fort chest, touching 90 billion. We are not talking about the exchange rate. We're not talking about the comparative value of the dollar. If one still were on the aspect of the dollar, we could say that this is somewhat relevant, but it's not. It is just talking about how much money or how many dollars, what amount of dollars, what amount in dollars comes into the Fort chest, and what is the total touching now. The third factor here is that there is a problem of logic as well, because if we were at all talking about the dollar rising very swiftly, then it would undermine this statement. It had touched 45.50 against the dollar and a peak of 45.33. If the dollar were rising, at least the one thing that we can be sure of is that the rupee would not touch a peak against the dollar. So it suggests that while this statement, it can be connected with the other statements in the form of an example. So we have the record upward spiral in C. E gives an example of that. D supports that statement. E gives an example. A concludes by calling it an unexpected, unprecedented Dussehra gift. We have B, which goes against this logic. Instead, it shows the dollar rising. Then again, not the value of the dollar, but basically the corpus of the dollar. How many dollars? So we have eliminated statements A, C, D, and E. They are all connected. Statement B is the one which is most different from the rest. So the correct answer is B.